Habibi, tell me, how was your day? Broody, I failed my presentation today, but it gives me hope to become better tomorrow. Success may have an ugly face.
So, Oleg, what's one of the similarities that every human being in this planet shares?
Wahab, this is a great question. I don't know. There could be many answers, but what is your specific thought?
What we and every human have shared together through experience is failure. At any point in our lives, in someone else's lives, we've experienced failure. We've experienced failing. We've experienced missing the mark, not meeting the objective, whether that be in an exam, in your job, in whatever. We've all faced it, and it has consistently been a fear to prevent us from either trying again or giving an attempt at something new because of a fear of failure, or it prevents us from engaging in something unfamiliar or unknown because of that fear.
Failures are very common due to the nature of the work and activities that I do and perform. So at some point I thought to myself, well, this is inevitable. This did happen, happens, and will happen in the future. So, however, so what happens if, for example, I fail? So first of all, I feel instantaneously negative. So that is a common feeling to experience when something goes not according to the plan. Maybe you thought, okay, well, this video is really going to work out very well, and lots of people who watch it get some usefulness out of it. Or maybe my teaching technique was going to work out well, but then it failed, and it didn't go as planned. Or experiment, right? So just like a common example from science, very general, very kind of approachable to a lot of people. You set some sort of experiment, you think it's going to work, but then it fails, and you also feel like a failure by extension. So how can we deal with this? What are the principles of conquering this?
Oh, that is a great question. I feel like what I have, which is what a lot of people have gone through, is failing exams or like failing tests in school or university. And instantly when you get back that grade, and you know the way when you messed up in an exam, how the teacher flips it, they hand it back to you. I received quite a few exams like that in my time. And I remember looking at that low mark and just feeling done. Like I felt terrible. I felt down all day. I didn't want to do anything else. Even the attempt to look through it and understand what I did wrong or how I can improve next time, I just didn't feel like doing any of it that day. That action I took afterwards is failure. Because the number one thing about failure is that it's not that you missed the mark, it's that you gave up. And I've had many instances in my life where getting back that bad score, immediately afterwards, I'm just like, it's done. That's what I'm supposed to get. That's the score I have. Boo-hoo. No action was taken. No improvement, I guess you could say, mentality was adopted. It was immediately, I'm just gonna sink down and carry this wallow all day. That is maybe the worst thing you can do. So the way you have to deal with it, and that doesn't just apply to exams, that can apply to anything. Maybe you have an idea you want to make. Maybe you have a book you want to write. Maybe you want to learn an instrument. Anything that is in the facets of life, have that tiny fear whispering at the back of our heads. Like, what if you're not good enough? What if you're gonna fail and your book's gonna be the worst rated of all time? What if that business idea doesn't go to work? What if you fail your exam and don't get the certificate? What if what like this whispering prevents us, and it's very important to spot it immediately, because what happens is if you don't, and if you carry on and you continue in that mindset, you go the next day and you go the next day, and eventually you notice a month have passed, maybe a year has passed, and you didn't write your book that you wanted to do. You didn't put that business idea you have in paper. You didn't study for your certification, let's say, whether it's for a job or a trade you want to pick up or whatever. And the year has gone by. And now you're filled with regret and saying, oh, but what if I just did this? And what if I did that? Now it comes to the point where you're battling with two things, the regret and the fear of failure. And what happens is if you let them sit for a while, it builds and it builds and it builds as time runs out. I think there's a famous saying we've all heard before. It's fall down 7 times, get up 8 times. It is common in everyone's lifespan to go through a failure, to go through something that just brings us down. But you have to keep trying. You have to give it a shot. You have to understand that once you receive the news, or you see that your project didn't work out, your book didn't sell, there are many lessons in your actions to help improve the next step, to help improve the next phase, the next project, the next idea you have. And failure can be the greatest motivation ever. Like, I remember getting that F in my exam and saying, oh no, I messed up, completely failed that exam. The next one after that, the academic comeback was unreal. I remember saying, okay, here's what I have to do. Didn't study at all. Have to study now. How am I going to study? Create a plan, create a schedule, stick to it. Look for the resources available to me. Who are the smart kids? Is there someone that can tutor me in this? Is the professor or teacher or whoever able to sit down with me and point out and say, here's where your weak spots are. Here's where I want you to focus. Do that to yourself as well. And then you try. And let's say you fail again. That's fine. Keep trying, because you don't want to fall down 7 times and then stay down at the 7th. Don't do that to yourself.
In graduate school, for instance, be that some sort of tests, exams, presentations, experiments, and so on and so on. And to me, this action of hiding from the failure and avoiding doing the work on mistakes, so to say, is the representation of the dichotomy with which I can see the process of failing. The dichotomy is as follows. Once you fail, you can become sad, you can experience lots of negative emotions, you can start exercising the avoidance mentality. Yes, you can literally hide away from the paper and not look at this because you don't want to kind of ramp up those negative emotions that are engendered by the failed exam. And eventually, so it's just going to retard your progress along the coursework, for example, right? You will not see those mistakes which you made on this failed exam. And then guess what? You're going to make them again with a very high likelihood, right? So, but the other approach is actually the positive one. And there are not so many in my kind of black and white view of this situation there are not so many approaches how to deal, right, what to do when you fail. One approach is to stay negative after you are walloped with those negative feelings, right, which are very natural. But the other approach is actually the productive one, and also represents in itself the way out of the failed situation. To me, it is to embrace the failure. This is kind of actually the expression which I learned in the graduate school when I was typing away some sort of Google-based device, how to deal with a failure in various circumstances of your life, academics included. And then I embraced the failure, right? So I said, well, I'm going to actually work with that. I'm going to face the failure, see what went wrong, and then try to improve those things where I failed, right? Maybe it's not everything that I could possibly fail. These are most likely some sort of specific things that you can wrap your head around and deal with them. So that's not so bad, because it is actually clear, concrete, and specific, right? Where you need to improve. So that seemed doable. And then I was just working on that. For example, if the particular purification method did not work out, then I knew where I failed. That was this very purification method. So I'm going to read about this, learn the technique, some kind of proper approaches, tips and tricks, and then guess what? I improved along the lines of this particular purification method, and then I didn't fail at this any longer, and then guess what? It also was the building block to, for example, make myself a more successful synthetic chemist at the time, let's say. Right? So and then I embrace the failure. So also another thing that I heard from some wise man on the internet is that you need to not shy away from the feeling, but you need to experience it. You need to let your body, mind, and soul and organism feel the particular feeling. And that way you will become sort of more resistant, right, to all those things that can potentially attack you. Just like the virus can attack you and then probably make you get dead or something like that in extreme situations, right, can become sort of your friend if you get the vaccination, right, against that virus of, let's say, cold, for example, common cold, right? So you get a little bit of that. So yeah, that kind of like makes you feel bad for some time. But you let your organism experience that, and then once there is a flu season, for example, or something like that, your organism becomes more resistant. It's like, okay, well, we dealt with this already. Same with the failure, with the sensation of failure. Just let yourself feel that, and then you kind of become accustomed to that. So once fails become like more and more frequent as you develop in life. So that seems to be the trend, right? So we tend not to make less mistakes and experience less failures as we develop our businesses and our careers and so on. But on the opposite hand, we are experiencing actually more and more setbacks and challenges and obstacles, right? So especially if we want to live fulfilled lives, as cheesy as it sounds. So then I kind of said to myself, okay, I'm gonna experience whatever I feel when I fail. And then I generated my own thought, which is kind of unique. I decided not to make the failure and the sensation of failure an enemy. I decided to consider this a friend, as kind of counterintuitive as it seems. So, if it is a friend, then I was actually welcoming this situation to my life. And then I decided to sit down with the sensation of failure and ask it as I would ask a friend. So, what's going on? What can you share? And then what I thought, I found is that the failure was kind of the indication for me to improve, actually, along some particular lines, right? So, because it is kind of like one of those good friends that doesn't hold something silent that he or she can tell you about, but in fact even if it is a particularly difficult topic to talk, this friend shows up at your door in your texts or in the telephone call and tells you, well, I feel like you are going down the wrong path, for example, right? Or you are not doing this thing right at your job, for example. Or you are not approaching your family situation in a kind of like sensible way, at least in this friend's opinion, and they voice it, right? And then you can either kind of experience negative emotions in this case, or you can embrace this approach and say, well, looks like it might as well be true. And then maybe I need to look into that and then try to see if I'm really doing the wrong thing, and then if I'm really going to need to improve it. So that's how I befriended the failure, actually, and decided to make it, in a sense, a counselor of mine that tells me, okay, well, this went wrong, and then this needs to be at least considered, right, in terms of improvement. And guess what? In a lot of cases, I stopped feeling actually those excessive negative emotions. Yeah, they are not enjoyable by any measure of imagination when I fail, but at the same time, they now serve as a beacon that tell me, okay, well, I need to improve along those lines if I want to achieve progress in a particular business.
That point right there, I loved it when you said failure is a friend, and it made me think. I put a small quote together. I hope no one said it before, because it might be like an original piece. But picture this. Failure is a friend that you can always count on to be openly honest and shine light at all your faults. Like exactly what you just said. That good friend who you can sit down with and then will tell you everything openly, whether you take offense to it or not, because some of them are things you need to hear before it's too late. And the thing is, we associated failure with like exams or business, but it can also be your health. Let's say you can fail yourself by taking good care of your health. And you know, someone who is, let's say, smoking, just every day smokes a pack of cigarettes, whatever, eventually, God forbid, gets bad news. Hey, you know, your lungs not looking too good. You need to take action. That right there is a mark of failure, like you failed your health. Now, what are you going to do next? You're just going to sit there and be like, oh no, well, that's just meant to be another pack of cigs a day. Or you could take action. You know, maybe if you're a parent and you're smoking, you could fail your kids by setting up a bad example. And you see where I'm going with this. I can open up a whole bucket of topics and we would speak about this for hours. But you need to understand that when you are faced with these vast circumstances of life that every human being has encountered and is going through, regardless of social class or economic status or whatever, it's being able to sit down with failure and saying, come on, bring it at me. What's going on right now? The fear of failure always seems great, but eventually down the line, the feeling of regret will vastly overshadow it. So don't let that stop you now. Awesome.
Great success!